God bless Alai, Stu.
God bless Highline Andrew.
Let's highlight Nate.
I am so excited. The trifecta here, all gathered together. The triumvirate of Alai experts. We have Stu Neiman, Andrew Blechman, the voices of Battle Court, joining us here to break down all of the season 8 Battle Court action. I always like second guess what season is. It goes by so fast.
So do
How
I.
are we doing?
So do I. And one would say I have a certain responsibility for that, but Andrew will be the first to tell you that I just like if I'm going to say what season it is or refer to it, I just look at him.
So here's my first question. Start out maybe just taking a look back in the mirror. What is your biggest storyline in season 8? I'll go with Andrew first. What's your biggest storyline season 8?
There's been so many great stories, but I think, obviously this is a Cyclones,
You know it.
lens
Whoosh,
that
whoosh.
we're going through here. So, I got to stick with the Cyclones. And I think just how they've come back from being at the bottom for so many seasons. Like, I remember I actually was listening to something that you were talking about, one of your episodes, and you said that they hadn't made the playoffs since they went to the 16th format, which I just like.
Mm-hmm.
You think about the team and you think about Manu and all the people that have been through there, like they've had really good teams, but like just the whole unit, all 6 doubles and all the singles players hasn't quite worked out together. Just the way that they've come back, and it's really been the addition of Hyro, getting that second front quarter out there that can go and win you a match. He's dominated with Manu in Division 2. He's dominated with Stan in Division 5. And that just has raised Manu's level of play. He's energized. He's been fired up. And I mean, Stu and I just like how many times when he plays and he's just scraping balls off the wall, we just like look at each other and like what he does in the backcourt is just incredible. And he's got the height, he's got the power. Like he can do it on any court in the world, and it makes every team just so tough because you have to worry about the backcourt, and then you got Inaki and you got Hyro in the front who have just been killing you. And now you got Unda, who, the last match in Division 3, he's starting to pick it up. Leno hasn't even played a match this year. And Stan's been a great addition. So I just think the whole team, how they've come back, they've clinched the #1 seed. Now they got to prove it in the playoffs. So it'll be fun to watch.
I think my biggest storyline, I'll go, is UD's failure to capitalize on the mediocrity of the Renegades. That's my biggest storyline, because there's a moment here, start of the season, I was on top of it. I said start of the season that I didn't think the Renegades would beat the Cyclones even once. They did, but I still feel like I can take credit for still being right, because I can just say, well, if Bueno was healthy, like we had, Bueno being out, it doesn't count. I'm still right. But there was a moment there where the Renegades were out of the playoffs, and I thought to myself, what if this team gets a high draft pick and is able to surround Go Cherry with some higher quality players here? But they've made a playoff push here, but I think they might still end up out of the playoffs. So we'll see what happens in this final week. But that's my biggest storyline. Do the Renegades decide to limp into the playoffs, or maybe go for those higher picks?
Yeah, they hit a lull. Like they won their first 2, and then they lost like 4 out of 5, and they only had like 1 tie in there. And they've really picked it up the last couple of weeks. And you got to start with a Nigarena. I mean, how about filling in for Urbieta as well as he has? Like I say that a situation a lot of times, like we talk about the stats, but situation determines your altitude in a lot of these doubles teams. And for Amigarena, I mean, surrounded by great talent, but he's just been unbelievable. And he's really filled in. And that's a big reason why they've been able to stay in it. And now they're kind of making a late push. There are some playoff scenarios too. We can get into that a little bit later because I know Stu's got to give a storyline, but we could definitely talk about that because the Renegades are in a pretty good spot.
What's your storyline, Stu?
My storyline is the Devils. Um,
Yeah.
every year, so I think folks know that one of my responsibilities is um, going out and finding the new players who are going to join us, and it's based on two things. And I think last year or last time we spoke, I mentioned that it's not just about playing. It's not just about front quarter, back quarter, but it's about bringing people in. And Andrew's heard this ad nauseum, who are going to. It's not just contribute positively to the locker room. That might be too much to ask, but who's not going to come in and basically, if after a loss or a questionable call or something like that, just wreak havoc that puts
Mm-hmm.
everybody else on edge. So I pay as much attention to that as anything else. What I was really surprised by storyline is where the Devils started and where they are now. And it really hinged, I don't know if the stats bear this out, but story wise, it really hinged on the thing that we always talk about. When does the new player to that court find his way? When does he, start figuring it out? And with Benetrix, that was a huge surprise that there was no learning curve for Benetrix. Andrew and I have discussed it, and I think we both agree that Benetrix, of any player who's come in, so Olheron Lopez,
Mm-hmm.
um,
All right, pardon the technological interruption here. Forgot to clear space on my computer, but we will pick it back up. Stu, we were talking about your storyline and you were
the Devils.
transitioning to the Devils and your storyline was new players. So is that your explanation for the rise of the Devils? Because that was something I was very curious about. We've never really seen a team who's like started out so poorly, then kind of like they've set the league on fire like the last month.
Yeah, that's why I chose them as the, of one story is that, when people come in, there really is no way, when players come in, there really is no way. It's kind of based on a hunch. In fact, years ago in traditional highlight, someone who I learned quite a bit from, who has passed away quite a few years ago, but we weren't over where the players were, and so we were dependent upon, I don't want to say scouts loyal to our program or another program, but occasionally you get this guy that would be all played up, and then you'd see him on the court, and there'd be an adjustment period, and his quote was, I guess I believe he left his game on the plane. And so there really isn't that we don't have a problem with. I've seen everyone who's come to play, with the exception of Stan. Stan just kind of approached the program and said, "Hey, I'm available," and that's how he got in. Everyone else has had play time in one of the other professional organizations in highlights, so we know how they play. We know what the behavior report is. So where the Devils are concerned, the big surprise, and Andrew and I have discussed this, was Benetrix, is that of any player who's come into battle court from the traditional highlight world, Benetrix had, I believe, virtually no learning curve. I mean, he had some difficulty the first 2 weeks with how some of the other players played on the shorter court. But he got past that obviously very quickly. The one that really helped change things was Etcheberry finding his game. Now Etcheberry's a little
Mm-hmm.
older than the other guys too, so that, I mean, that fits. That fits. He's been playing his style of highlight longer than the other guys have, a little bit more of an adjustment period. And when he started finding those catches, especially those shots, and started becoming a threat as opposed to a liability, the Devils really took off. And of course, with Benny there, Benny is probably, in my opinion, playing the best highlight that I've seen him play in the backcourt. And that's just based on catching. That's just based on, he's kept his front quarters in the game. And so that's where the Devils are concerned. They just,
Yeah.
Etcheberry found it about mid-season. Benetrix was off to a surprisingly good start, and Benny's been consistent throughout. So once Etcheberry turned it on, the Devils just shot up.
In their last 8 game days, they've converted 6.5 out of possibly 8 points, including three
That's
5-1 wins. I mean,
That's
I'm looking here.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
this
so
is
rare
some
that the
crazy
stats
stuff.
bear me out.
Right, Stu?
we
No,
have this highlight brain that like, well, the highlight brain's annoying because he just focuses on like what he sees and whatever it is, whereas the stats point to a different picture. There's one stat in particular that Andrew knows drives me crazy, but um, it's nice when the two come together. It really is. It is. And in the case of the Devils, the stats and the highlight eye, if that's what we want to call it, seem to match up pretty well.
I mean, they're when you talk about playoffs, they're the team that scares me the most in terms of going up against them. Right now, it looks like they're the 2 seed. So as if we advance and they advance, that's who we'll see in the championship in terms of playoffs. But yeah, the Benetrix has taken to the court crazy fast. He's a combined 16-4 in his doubles matches. So like that's top tier, like no matter what you're at when you're winning like 80% of your doubles matches. So he has been an incredible addition for them. And I agree with you 100%, Stu, with Etcheberry, like coming into his own. I remember early in the season, like maybe it was after a third of the way in, you guys had mentioned that I think Etcheberry only had like maybe one kill shot at the start of the season. Like, oh, well, that's not a great statistic. Obviously,
Right.
that's gotten better for him. On the flip side of that, what what happened to the Chargers? Simultaneously, we have the rise of the Devils. The Chargers started out top of the league through September or so, and now they've just completely fallen off a cliff.
yeah. Well, I just got accused of being a major apologist. So, at risk of being an apologist
Stop
against you,
taking that shit to heart.
no, I'm
You're
kidding.
never
It's
gonna
just
you're
it was
never gonna
perfect.
please
It was
them.
a perfect
Never.
transition. I think what like timing in life is everything, and I hate to be philosophical and I'm going to sound like Stu, but two of the guys on the Chargers, and I think Stu knows where I'm going, have newborn babies.
Yeah.
Two of the guys on the Chargers have newborns, Ubia and Iturbide. So at some point, like Iturbide just hasn't been great, and Ubia just hasn't been great after the World Super Court. So like at some point, like that's just life, and that's got to be tough. So I feel like that has got to factor into it at some point, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt this year because they've proven it time and time again. But again, I don't think that's something that's that's been out there. I mean, we may have made reference to it, but Arta's been fine. Bradley's actually been good. Jen's actually been good, and Zuleika's been he's been okay. Maybe not his best season either. I mean, they were only I think 1-8 in doubles in the Division One. So, you look at the top players, they're not, yeah, they may be not performing, but it just speaks to the level, and it just keeps rising with all the other teams. And it's a credit to Stu, it's a credit to Scott for bringing these people in, and they continue to raise the bar. So, I think other teams have just gotten better. The Cyclones, obviously, with Hyro. The Devils have been a surprise. The Renegades, they have Gosheri and Goanaga. They're always in it. And then the Warriors, Alex has stepped up. Douglas is there. And they got Chulin, who's great value, Gallo, Correa. So, it could just be a case where these other teams may just be better. But I also think that being fathers, and, it's got to play some role, at some point. Got to take focus away. It's got to, practice as much something. So, I mean, that's what I think. I don't know if there's anything more, Stu, that you can think of, but
I mean, I agree with Andrew, and it's something that it's something that was I don't want to call it debate, but it's like there's JR and I on one side, and Scott, Lindsay to a lesser extent, and Andrew on the other side of this discussion of the role of intangibles. And I've always said that, but this is before Battle Court as well. I've always said having having been around it, just by having been around it for so many years, is that you can take a fantastic highlight player who has everything And if there's bad traffic, if he's coming down on 95 or the Palmetto, or he gets cut off, that might mean a bad day of highlight for him. I mean, like literally, it might mean a bad day of highlight for him. If there's financial pressures, if there's family pressures, if anything, you know, it just becomes more difficult to play with focus and to tune everything out. And that's absolutely what's needed. So, yeah, what Andrew's saying is absolutely correct. I think where the Chargers are concerned, I think that the babies do play a role. I don't know. I haven't spoken to them about how much sleeping they get. It's kind of like a joke, before we begin. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
have you been sleeping? And they like roll their eyes or something like
Hmm.
that. So, will that have an effect on how many of Iturbide's Costados land in? Yes, it will. Will that have an effect on how Ubia plays in the back? Yes, it will. How do you account for that statistically in a sports environment? I don't know, and I don't think we've ever I don't think we've ever known.
We'll just say each baby takes off like 3/10 in terms of your reaction time. And in the world's fastest ball sport, that's pretty relevant.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
their last, what is it? Their last 11 game days here, they have 2.5 points. Like they won 3 out of their
Hmm.
first four. Like they look
Yeah.
good. They beat the Renegades, they beat the Devils, and it was like they're back and they have just like decent. Like they have just fallen off a cliff. Like it's tough because I really like that team. I like all the guys. They're fun. They really care. But it's like I don't know. But that's a team that they're home run hitters. Like if Iturbide and Zule could get hot, and there's one path. Like if they sweep the Warriors 6-0, and then the Fireballs sweep the Renegades, then the Fireballs and Chargers would make it as the three
Oh, wow.
and
So,
four
I mean,
respectively. That's one scenario, but it's again you're thinking about two sweeps, which is we haven't seen
I
one
think, yeah,
sweep
there
this
hasn't
year.
been one sweep this year at all. Like, I think every year there's been at least with the new kind of formats, there's been less sweeps. I think there's maybe one sweep last season, but it felt like less last season. I think even just with like the added competition, like every season, the competition has gotten like better and better, and the pool of players that are a part of it have gotten better. That to think that two sweeps are gonna happen, it, they're toast.
Yeah,
That's a
Declaring
pretty
it
tall
now.
order.
The Chargers, they're sub 1% playoff probability odds.
it's that. Yeah.
One thing I have to give you credit for, Nate. So with your Cyclones, the role of maturity. This is something that I was giving
Mm-hmm.
some thought to. Yeah, again, intangibles. You're not going to get any numbers out of me because I don't get the numbers. But there is something that happens to highlight players over 30. Good highlight players. Sorry, but, they're all good, but I know it's vague. And I was really thinking about that last night. And what the Cyclones have is that maturity. And a mature highlight player who has good talent, which when we're talking about Hyro, when we're talking about Manu, when we're talking about Inaki, and Inaki being healthy, they're a bit more conservative with their movement. They don't move as much.
Mm-hmm.
Their court positioning is better, and they're not doing the Arutia running diving. There's much more. They know where to be and where to move based on how their opponent is throwing the ball. And that's something that comes with time. There's some players who get it, there's some players who never get it. So that's something that I have definitely noticed with the Cyclones is really just this maturity, which is when Hyro and Manu are together, you could try to out volley them, but it's not going to work. And then you have the threat of Manu in the backcourt making a shot. He's Manu is as tuned in as I've ever seen him. Hyro's not going to miss Botes. He's got a lethal right side. Inaki, when he's turned on, and he is, and he's locked in, will kill it with the shots. And but that maturity is like as I have watched them on the court, it's not just a question of we're seeing a lot of volleying with that particular team. It's a preservation of movement. It really is. And that's just something that comes with that. That's one of the advantages that the Cyclones really have. And I don't think that I've seen that in Highlight, which surprises me until now because
Mm-hmm.
of the Battle Court team format. It's always just been individual players, and you see it with individual players playing against each other amongst a roster of 40, 45 players. But in a team format with 6 players, now that I've seen three true veterans together, it's like, well, there's something in that sauce there. There's something to that. I was thinking about that last night.
I mean, honestly, with this team, the second from draft day, I've said this the past several seasons, but this season it ended up being true. Like the second I'm
Right.
like, we got Hyro as a Division 3 player, and the second I saw that, I was like, if this team doesn't make the playoffs, like then blow it all up, because something's got to change if this team doesn't make it, because the caliber of player that Hyro is at a Division 3, like the more that Battle Court has added to these players, the important part is finding the advantages where you can find them. And the biggest advantage in Battle Court is when you can get a player who, because of the new addition of players, or for whatever reason, is playing a division higher. So when I look at the Cyclones, we've got 2 of those players where I think we have advantages over other teams' divisions. That player's Hyro, um, because I think it's just crazy having him as a Division 3 player. He's been a Division 1 player in the early parts of this league, and Stan as a Division 6 player. Like their team has been Hyro and Stan together. I think they only have 1 loss on the season. You could even argue having Iñaki has a little bit of that because he's been a
Right.
Division 1
Yeah.
player as well, and we have him as a Division 2 player. So we have a lot of players on this team that they've played that higher level of division, but now they're playing a division back, and that's a really big advantage. Like you guys mentioned, like another player that I think of when I think of this advantage is Cabrera for the Fireballs, because for a Division 5 player, like his catch rate is so high for a Division 5 player. He's one of the most reliable Division 5 players, and that gives the Fireballs a big advantage. We've got essentially 3 of those, which I think is what makes this Cyclone team so good.
Yeah, and going back to the draft too, what's really interesting, like last year when Hyro was on the Devils and they had Nicholas, Benny, Hyro, there was a little bit of slander because of Hyro, and they're like, oh, Hyro took a step back. The reality is Hyro's never played Division 1 or Division 2 doubles his entire Battle Core career up until he was drafted to the Devils. So that's why we always say situation and timing is so much is one of the most important things when you're factoring in a player. Because yeah, if you look at him being your number 1 front quarter, and you're trying to say, okay, go Sherry, go beat Zulay, go
Mm-hmm.
beat these guys, he's not going to do it. If you tell him, hey, you're our number 2, you're playing in Division 5 with Stan, and you're playing in Division 2 with Manu, that's got to be a dream. That's a perfect situation for him in both cases. He can play his game, and he doesn't necessarily have to be that number 1 guy, which Inaki is, and he does it very well because, to that's what you said, he's played as a number 1 in previously in his Battle Court career. So if you look at that team, you have 2 1s, a 2, a 4, and 2 5s at the rankings. That's just a lot of talent. And
Mm-hmm.
at some point, like you feel like it's got to work. This year, it really finally did. And another reason why is they finally got that second front quarter. They've had Carballo and just whatever else works, and they've had Bueno, and they've done a great job. But now in season 8, you need some firepower, and they've got it with Inaki. They got it with Hyro. And if those, I mean, they're going to be able to freeze 3 people coming back, regardless of what happens with their 4. They freeze those 3. I think they're going to be a tough team. And if they win, they could keep Stan as a 6. I mean, that's they're going to be set for a few years.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing that happened also is that Stan's Andrew knows the catching rate, the actual number of it, but Stan this season compared to previous seasons, I know he's had at least one, but maybe two seasons before. I believe this is third season. I'm not sure, but he's catching just more balls
Mm-hmm.
and making fewer mistakes this season than he has in the prior season. So he hit his court familiarity at the perfect time for the Cyclones.
In that situation too, like the Devils lost Hyro, but then they get Benetrix and Etcheberry,
Yeah.
and then it works out for them. They got two, probably a rank lower than they should be, and they're going to freeze them, so they have a great setup in the future. It was a true win-win. Like those years weren't great for both of those teams last year, but I mean now for the future, I mean, who looks better than the Cyclones? And then honestly, you could argue that the Devils look a little bit better just because they have maybe some younger talent that still has room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
who do you think is the funnest player in Battle Court this season?
Funnest?
Yeah, fun. Who's the funnest to play? Like, buckle up, people. I have mine.
Oh.
I think you can probably guess who mine is. I can go first if you need a minute to think. Mine, hands down, Unda, the Unda Taker.
Okay.
Come
the
on,
Undertaker.
like,
Yeah.
I love the addition of Unda, and actually, I was set up to interview Unda on the podcast, and then everything kind of went crazy, and I had to take a break for about a month or so. So, might reach out, see if I can't get him on. But I love his style of play and tenacity. I think he's a unique player in Battle Court in terms of being such an aggressive backcourter. I think it sometimes gets him into problems that his aggressiveness does sometimes put him in problems, bad positioning, maybe going for shots that he could let his front quarter get. But I just think it's so fun to watch that I'll take the mistakes here or there just to see like a guy who's being so aggressive and like is just testing. I feel like he's out there, he's just testing himself and is like, let's see if I can't kill this shot. And it leads to some pretty spectacular shots where it's like, man, you don't see that often. So for me, he's one of the funnest players to watch.
Yeah.
Well, I have to agree with you. Unda has been a fan for, his personal story is that he doesn't come from a highlight background. He doesn't come from a highlight family. So I like his personal story in so much as, he really had to put in the extra effort to get to a fronton to learn how to play highlight, as opposed to having family members handing him cestas and whatever. He didn't have those advantages even in the home of highlight. So his work ethic is tremendous. Also, wherever he goes, wherever he's been, that was the scouting on, well, what's he like as a person? He's funny. Hear me say, he throws every ball like it's the last ball he's ever going to throw, and he gives it he gives it his all. And yeah, some of the best backcourt caroms that I've seen have been fired from that right side of his at just the right time. So Unda is fun. I would say that, like for instance, Douglas the other day when he was snapping those costados, is those two walls. That was exciting. That was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it was good for him too. That was exciting to watch. But Benetrix for me, twice now. I mean, twice now. It's one thing if you slide and you're on your knees, you're on your ass on the court, and you're catching and returning a ball. But he's now done it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So that Carballo factor,
yeah.
which was with the program since the program's origin, Benetrix is kind of picked up there, and also the fearlessness with which he plays. He snapped a couple two walls. I think it was against the Chart. I'm not sure who it was against, but I was like, it takes real balls to throw some shots against certain guys. And so I did see that with Benetrix. So I'd say that Benetrix and Unda for me, as far as like just excitement in the play. And also it's new blood. I mean, Bragley, as always, watching Bragley get Bragley's name's always going to screw me up, and I have no idea why, and I don't know
Bagley.
how it
Yeah.
comes off as a G. It literally. I'm not saying Bragley. It's just, but that's what everyone hears. So, but
Hmm.
Bragley in the back, seeing that unconventional form work, that to me is also pretty fun.
And
It's like,
I mean,
yeah,
him and Jedin are kind of the high note for that Chargers team, just to give them a
Right.
little bit of a shout out. Like, they're the team that's been consistent, that Jedin and
Yeah.
Bradley team. So you can definitely see the improvement in a player like Bradley, and I'd say Jedin as well.
I'll let Andrew
Jed's
take
been
it from me.
no. I was going to say Jed's been pretty tough. You know, the Fireballs had a decision whether to potentially keep him or let him go, and you know, you could argue that's really been where they've dropped off the most is the six. I mean, they go from Jedin last year to Joseph. It's just been, you know, at times it's tough to overcome. And you know, Joseph, he deals with a lot of BS, and he deals with a lot of stuff. So you got to give him credit, but you know, you love the effort, you love all of it, but at the end of the day, in a league where it's about wins and losses, he hasn't gotten it done. And Jed has really brought that energy over to the Chargers. Those interviews with Bradley are the most fun for me. Like I there's some interviews, and I won't name names, where I'm just like, oh my god, I can't believe I got to talk to this guy. And then there's other interviews where I'm like, great, like this is going to be fun. Stu's going to get into it, and you just
Hmm.
know that with
And
those
they've got
guys,
the chains that they always bust
right?
out.
Just appreciate like fun stuff like that, because it's a long season, and like for us sitting
Hmm.
there, like that stuff, you know, that keeps us going, and that gets it. But for me,
Andrew,
an exciting player, yeah, Stu.
no, Andrew. I was going to say, Andrew said one of the funniest things that he's ever said this weekend when it came to a player who will remain nameless who was going to be interviewed. It was something along the lines of, I'd rather kill myself than talk to this guy. And I have been laughing about that like all week.
Yeah. I said I'd
I
rather
haven't
talk to
stopped laughing.
like anybody else in the world than like this guy.
Except this. Now, based on our locker room, whoever sees this, that's going to be the new topic of discussion. And there's no way I'm slipping. I mean, that's you know,
Okay.
I've kept secrets, for in highlight secrets forever. So
Hmm.
I'll keep that. So I'll keep that one to myself. But Andrew was just absolutely hysterical about it. And then he went and did it, and you wouldn't have known. You couldn't tell by the interview that he like would have rather been, by his own word,
Well,
dead
you
than
know,
talking to the guy.
well, sometimes you just get like you're like sometimes you just like it's tough. You ask a question quickly, and like they, you know, I'm like you got to give me like something. Like sometimes the players like just work with me, like give me a little bit more. And so like sometimes it's more like the players just aren't as into it, and then it's tougher. But you know, some are great. But to get back to a player that's fun, I
Yeah.
love CRB. That's another one where
Chad.
whenever CRB comes on the court,
Yeah.
Stu and I are talking, and
Yeah.
he's just
Yeah.
CRB is just that guy. I mean, he's just so much fun. He brings the energy. The people love him. I mean, the crowd, meaning like the other players, like nobody gets the crowd going like CRB. And you know, the energy's up. People on the bench are cracking up. He's snapping two walls. He's making great catches. And to his credit, like it kind of was like a joke at first, but he's really like stepped up and he's really played well. Like he's fit into the
Hmm.
role beautifully with the Renegades. And but whenever he comes out, I'm like, this is going to be a fun match, and we're going to enjoy this one.
Andrew is absolutely right. With CRB,
Yeah,
it's like he gets a good ribbing for me because of his origin story, which I won't get into now. But it's like literally the first months of his ever touching a cesta were under the tutelage of me and JR, and he drove me nuts. I mean, it was one on one, and he drove me. I mean, he just drove me absolutely effing crazy. And that's a story for another time. Not because he did anything wrong, just his mental approach, which turns out
Hmm.
to be excellent. And that's the greatest thing about CRB is you could drop CRB in the middle of Goico coming out of retirement, Lopez, at the top of his game, and Urquiaga, like three top, and just throw Chad in there, and Chad would say, "Oh yeah, no, this is where I should have been all along." I mean, he's not arrogant about it. He's not. It's just he doesn't. He never sees when he's in danger. He never sees when he's overmatched. He's oblivious to all of
Hmm.
it. He just plays his game, and there's something really to be admired about that. I don't know how he does some of the stuff he does, and then the other stuff, like when he starts, he's going to throw a two wall, or he's going to throw a drop shot, he's swinging it back, and the ball falls out of the cesta. I've wanted to go through the glass at least 3 or 4 times on a couple of those and just strangle him. So yeah, sorry, CRB gets me fired up.
Two
See, it's fun. It gets us riled up.
two quick questions here, and then one final
Yeah.
question. On
Yeah.
the count of three, say who your MVP of this season is. So take a second, think about it. You've probably got a Cyclone in mind. On the count of three, one, two, three. Manu.
Benetrix.
Wow. Well, we
30,
got 2 out of 3, Nate. Two
30
out of three.
seconds,
Not bad.
Stu. 30 seconds. Benetrix. Why is he MVP?
MVP because of the adjustment. It's like one thing we know is how difficult it is to adjust to this court, and he had no adjustment period and went from looking comfortable on the court to starting throwing shots. So he brought something to his team that no one could have predicted ahead of time. No, we'd seen him on the court a few times practicing World Super Court. We had seen that, but no one could have predicted that he would have gone on the court and done as well as he has. And obviously, I agree with Manu. Manu has played absolutely
We'll
fantastic.
we'll, we'll let Andrew. You said Benetrix. You stick to your guns. And look, we heard his doubles record earlier, right? I think you can easily make a justified case for Benetrix, like first season, everything you said, and that doubles record. But I'm
Yeah.
going to toss it over to Andrew.
Sure.
Andrew, Manu.
Where do you think? You look at the doubles record for Manu. First of all, he and Inaki haven't even lost, so
Yeah.
they were 9-0, and then he was 8-2 with Hyro. So I mean, you look at that. I mean, 17-2 in doubles, and then in singles, he's added a couple of sneaky and surprising wins, which adds up. It's just also like I love Manu. Like when you get Manu like in a good mood, he's just in fact he's talking to everyone. The vibes are high, and he is just a great leader. You see him in there with Hunda, he's talking eye to eye, like right up in his face. Like you love that. And when things are like, and he's dealt with a lot of bad stuff the last couple of seasons, and he's been in a lot of tough situations, and he has been an angel where some people will freak out after losses. He's just, he keeps coming in with the same effort, same energy all day. And this year, he's just been rewarded with great partners. He's just playing better than anyone, catching better than anybody, doing it off the court as well. So I think when you add all of that up, it's just hard to say that, there's anybody more valuable than the guy that's led him to the number one seed and, has had the best regular season.
Absolutely. And I think shout out to ownership here when they made their teams. I thought they did something that they hadn't done in the past, which is normally they've paired Manu with a lower division player like for I don't even know how many seasons, and he's had like Manu's had to be like, and he's always going to be a dependent anchor, but this time it was Manu with Inaki and Manu with Hyro, and that was like the first time in I don't know, maybe ever or forever that he was just paired with the other top two players on the team. And I think he's just flourished as a result. Like he's always had a great doubles record. His singles was like, it was decent this year. I think he still has a losing record, but he's been a tough out in singles. Like even on the ones where he's losing in three. And he had that one where Go Cherry, I think he was up 5-1 on Go Cherry in that third set. And just Go Cherry, so tough to get out. But yeah, Manu, I just favorite highlight player for me. So I'm a little bit biased. Next question.
It's a good bias.
Who do you think is going to win the championship? Same thing. Count of three. Take a second to think. If you had to pick, who's winning Battle Court Season 8, the final season at Magic City, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Cyclones.
No comment.
Wow.
Too tough to predict. I mean, what makes you uncertain?
Stu's not a prognosticator, as we said. He's not.
No, never. Andrew will tell you that goes back to the beginning. I've seen things happen in the sport on our court now, but also throughout the history of highlight where you say this team can't be beaten. But I'm talking about like two players, right? They can't be beaten, and just a few balls bounced a
Yeah.
peculiar way. The judge makes a brilliant call.
I
You
mean, I
know,
think of
it's
that Chargers Renegades where the Chargers beat them in that final like overtime one. Like that perfectly exemplifies what you're talking about. I still like think about that Zuleika shot that won him the championship that year.
yeah.
That was a crazy shot.
And it comes down to, in highlight, yes, a game of inches, but it does come down to those things. And so yeah, so I really don't know from, because again, I don't look at numbers, so I have no idea who's gonna who's gonna break from the semifinals, and I have no idea who's gonna win the final. And I don't prognosticate. I don't. I just don't.
I'm a huge prognosticator, and I've got the receipts to show for it, and they're not good. But the I will say with this Cyclones team, I just love how, first of all, they're top heavy. So any match in like the top three that you send them out, they're gonna win. And then you have the five team, which has been like, can't say it's a lock because they may end up playing like Benetrix. That would be like the team they play. It would be Benetrix and Rock would have been
Yeah.
the next toughest team in
That's
that
why they
group.
scare me.
So yeah, I was gonna say, Nate, like, and rightfully so. Like they just match up really well, and like, you know, you add Bueno back. Like, I don't know if Bueno's going to play or if Robin's going to play. Like, Bueno's just coming back from injury. He's still figuring it out. Like, it always takes people a while, and he's just thrust right back into like the meat. I mean, literally not the meat of it, the most important part
Mm-hmm.
of the season. So, like, how's he gonna step up? I just think that it would be fitting, and it would be. I think it would be a poetic to have the Cyclones win the first one at Magic City, and they cap it off, and you see those two banners there, and that'll look great
Mm-hmm.
when we move. Yeah.
That would be neat.
That's I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I so you got to go with those bookends for
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Cyclones would be a great story. But yeah, I think for me, I look at that Cyclones team, and despite my fears of the Devils, like I think no matter who we play in the thing, I'm like, man, I feel like we can at least get three and force uh tiebreaker, or the overtime extra set, however you want to call that. And I feel confident no matter who, if we end up having to go to like a overtime against somebody, that either Manu or Inaki would be a huge advantage if that is against the Devils, going against their Division 1 players, or if say the Renegades manage to scratch and claw their way to the championship, or we face them round 1, whatever that is, like then throw out Hyro and Stan, and I feel pretty good about the chances taking down a Flores and Ben Division 5 team if they manage to push it to an extra set. I don't see this team losing 4 in the playoffs in terms of a doubles format, like all doubles format. And I think we just have enough strength that we can pick and choose and since we've earned that number 1 seed, we can pick and choose like who we're going to go against and get the advantage that we want. So
It's a good assessment. Solid assessment. Absolutely.
and the final question, what are you thankful for this Battle Court season?
Me?
Sure, Stu, you start us off.
What am I thankful for? I'm. It's the thing I've been thankful for the last 8 years, that we're still playing highlight.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing highlight in a new format that was a creation of the Magic City program, and people such as yourself have taken to it and they like it. I'm truly thankful that we're still playing highlight, and that we're going someplace that will be that will be celebrating its 100th year when we continue with highlight in 2026. I'm really thankful for that. So the fact that we're continuing to play highlight, and that we're going to continue to play highlight in a specific place, is a lot to be thankful for.
Andrew?
Yeah. I mean, I would echo a lot of the same things that Stu just said, but no, I'm thankful for Magic City. I mean, as a whole, because we're kind of ending that chapter and beginning a new one. So it's just kind of looking back and personally, like where I began and where I was at the beginning of this program. Like, just thankful that I get to do what I love to do, which is call sports. I didn't think it would necessarily be high life, but here we are. 8 seasons later. I mean, how many? 6 years almost later. We're still going. It seems to be as strong as ever. The talent just keeps getting better and better. And I really, I say this. I don't know where else I would work. If I wasn't doing Battle Court, I really don't know what else I'd be doing. So I'm just thankful for that. It's the best place to be, and thankful for a great finish, because this has been the closest year that we've had in Battle Court too. So it'll be fun to close out these last few game days and then the playoffs.
For me, I'm thankful for the support I've received. I can't believe I'm still doing a podcast about Alai. Say same thing since I started it a couple years ago. Like I'm thankful for the support that Cyclone ownership, Mike and Chris Cody has given, and along the way, like the support, like Lindsay early was like helping connect me with players, and you guys have jumped aboard, and I appreciate the support and the mentions that you guys have given. So I'm thankful for the continued support, and I'm excited that Battle Court's still continuing. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it.
God bless Alai.
God bless Alai.